finally, to just wrap up on the weekend, we did have the All Star game on Sunday. You had Team Chuck, you had Team Kenny, Team Shaq, and Team Candace, which was the Rising Stars team. And listen, I'm not gonna lie. First matchup was Team Kenny versus Team Chuck. And I won't lie, that was a solid. Like, I was watching it and I was pretty entertained. Um, I was actually pulling for Team Kenny. For some reason, I just wanted the young players to win. That was like the identity surrounding the team that he drafted was just a team full of young players. Team Chuck was like the international players, and then Team Shaq was like the OG players, so like the older stars, and they ended up winning the whole thing. But after that first game, well, there was the Rising Stars game, which Team Shaq won, as they should have. I would have been upset if they had lost to the Rising Stars. And then, which I will say, having the Rising Stars in the, like, people who are complaining about it, honestly, like, I don't understand. Well, I get why they're complaining, but the Stars weren't the ones are the ones that have been at fault, right? They're the ones that haven't been playing hard. They're the ones that don't play defense in the All-Star game. And so the idea of incorporating the younger players to potentially, like, encourage the superstars to just play hard and do their thing. I wasn't mad at that. So I didn't mind them being there. In the end, they lost their matchup, but I wasn't mad at that. The last game, though, that was painful to watch, and I'm not sure if that's when you turned it off, Dre, but no defense was being played. You had half-court shots from Curry, which was cool or whatever, but there just was no defense being played. And at the very end, it just became this like little circus show, and like it always is. Thankfully, we didn't get that the entire, what, like 2 hours, but it was still upsetting because it was just the same exact product that we've been getting these past few years. So do you have any thoughts on the All-Star game itself?
The All-Star game is cooked, bro. It's washed. Like, I just don't see this even lasting another 2 years at this rate. Like, what's the point of it? There's literally no point of it. Even like the Pro Bowl, similar concept, that's cooked. And you would say, like, okay, football, I kind of get that it was eventually going to come to this, especially with like it's a full contact sport and the safety precautions they've taken over the years. Obviously, players don't want to get injured. But basketball, like, like these guys are going harder over the summer, like just playing in these rec gyms with these same players, like these same top players are playing together over the
Yep.
summer. Like this is honestly just embarrassing. Like, especially for these top players who are getting voted in by fans, who some of them arguably, we already had this debate, we don't have to have it again, but arguably, in my opinion, shouldn't have been, say, quote unquote starters or even made it, but it's like this fan vote and this demand to see you out there. For you to play like this, or just like not give any effort, it's just disrespectful, honestly. Like, I've seen Curry shoot half court shots for 10 years. It's not exciting anymore. Like, this, I don't care that Curry made it from half court. Bro does that in regular season games. Like, that's not that exciting for, like, that's not a reason for me to tune in to the All-Star game, personally. Like, I'm sure as the biggest Curry fan, I'm sure, like, too, because it was in San Francisco. This was the Curry Glaze Fest. But like, for me, what the hell is that, bro? Like, I don't care that Curry's doing that in however many years he's been in the league. We know. So just the whole concept, I appreciate at least that the NBA is trying. Like, they're trying, and for the NBA, I mean the actual league administration, not the players, because the players don't care. The NBA is trying to find some way to work around these players who don't care and find a format that can be entertaining. Like the first All-Star game post Kobe's death, where they actually tried, and there was something that felt like there was something on the line, or something like that they wanted to live up to in that game, and it was a new format, and that actually brought something interesting. But then even that faded out over the next few years. Now this new format, like you're saying, I understand the appeal of bringing in the rising stars just to motivate them, but like you said, once they're out of that first game, then the final, like, what is there after that? There's like nothing to there's nothing for them to really care about after that. But really, the only thing that ever incentivizes these guys is money, and so you're gonna have to put some crazy money prize on the line. Or I saw on First Take they were suggesting potentially like I think the Rising Stars used to be like this, or maybe it still is. I don't know, but it should be like a U.S. versus international, Team World versus Team USA type setup. Obviously, for that you'd have to have enough international all stars to make two separate teams. But I think something like that could get like some sort of pride on the line that actually gets people to compete, or even East versus. First of all, just over everything else, I liked East versus West. I don't even remember why we got rid of it. East versus West felt good, and doing East versus West and then having it like the MLB game where it's like the winner the All-Star game gets home court in the finals instead of just record. I like that, and I think that actually gives you something to play for, especially if the All-Stars are mainly coming from winning teams. They're going to be like, okay, this actually really matters. So you don't have to have the best record in the whole league. You just have to have the best record in your conference to the conference finals, and then winner of the All-Star game gets that. I think that actually, other than money and maybe like national pride, that's the only thing that can get these guys to compete.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. Honestly, man, it's kind of hard to even think about incentives. Like, there was even a part of me at first, I was like, what if we like, it's not exactly the same as the whole Team World, Team USA thing, but like, since obviously like and this isn't me co-signing this idea, I'm just kind of like running you through my thought process. At first I was like, what if the MVP of the game gets somehow like entered into the selection pool for Team USA for the next Olympics? But even then, it's like, what are we doing? Because now we're just encouraging an ISO fest where it's just like, you know, Curry one-on-one with his defender, you know, or Jaylen Brown, or, you know, like Tatum. I don't know. I guess should think more of like players who maybe didn't get as much of a shot in this year's Olympics. But, you know, it's kind of hard to even think about anything. Obviously money will always be a possibility to entice the players, but it's just tough. It's just like there's no real way for us to really think like, okay, how can we get them to care? Because that's what this comes down to. Like, there's a lack of care. How do you get people who don't care to care?
I got the answer, man. Charity. Just make it all based around charity.
They tried that too.
They've done that before, like, man.
This is like such an insane discussion to me, though. Like, the fact that professional players need incentive for a weekend that I imagine millions of kids across the country like get excited for, look forward to watching, that sort of thing. Like, that alone, theoretically, in my mind, should be the reward. Like, you're already a pro player. You're already making your bag. You're living the dream you had as a kid. Like, you use this one weekend to help like plant that seed, you know, in the minds of many. You know, it doesn't need to be about the money. I mean, clearly they don't have enough money with what we were talking about before about the quote unquote celebrities they had, but that's just, it's a sad discussion. Incentive for something like this, I don't know, gets me disappointed.
Fair point. Very fair point. Yeah, man, I don't know how I said we're at the table discussing, but I don't know how this is gonna be fixed, to be honest. Like, it's sad. Like, the game I once loved has just devolved crazy. So, you know, I think for as many ideas we try to throw to the wall and see what sticks, like, there really is just we kind of have our hands tied, because it's very clear that the fans want a change, right? It's very clear, and it's been clear for years. But, you know, we'll see what ends up happening. I did see KD was saying that like the fans are complaining too much. I think he's entitled to his opinion. There were players who did play hard, like Wemby. I do want to give him his flowers. I'm not even the biggest Wemby fan in terms of just love his game, just, you know, have thoughts about him as a player. But he really performed well, and that this being his first All-Star game, I was happy to see a new star kind of putting in the effort, because he's obviously going to be carrying the mantle, hopefully, over the next several years. So we'll see where that leads us. But yeah, I'm with you, Dre. I'm tired of seeing the half-court threes. Tired of seeing the ISO. Kyrie at one point did like an off the backboard dunk, which I'm like, what are we like? No disrespect to Kyrie, but it's like you don't even dunk. Like, this is just you trying to get your moment, and like, I guess be my guest if there's no defense being played. But listen, and Kyrie himself was also playing defense, so I do want to mention that as well. I don't want to make it seem like this is his fault, but it's frustrating. It's sad. But anyways, if any listeners have any thoughts, definitely let us know. I think we all want change, so definitely let us know what you think.